Welcome to Co-op Mode, round 143. This is the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. We're going to have a good time tonight, folks, because I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, joined by the Korean Carabin, and also joined by a friend of 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 a podcast that you might have been on. Kevin Ainsworth is on, a.k.a. The Muffin Mon. You've heard his name on many of our friends' best podcasts, and we're so happy to have him on. He's founder of and podcaster over at Save the Game Media. Kevin, welcome so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yes, as you said, friend of a friend of a friend. But I hope after podcasting together, we can be friends. You know, all three of us, we can have a nice friendship triangle going on.
Absolutely.
I think it's the only way you become friends these days is podcasting. I don't think there's any other way to meet or socialize.
I don't have any, I don't have any friends in real life. You know, it's all just like looking at screens, talking about games with each other. So,
yeah. IRL
between 85 Discords, between 85 Discords, a billion TikTok followers, here we are. So I think we're going to have a good time tonight. But Kevin, you're new to the show, so we're going to ask some probing questions really quickly. What was the first console you owned?
The first console I owned was the NES. It wasn't, now I'm going to be a little pedantic. The first console I owned or the first console my family owned? Because the first console I owned, bought with my own money, was a 360. And it was from my neighbor. I was going to college. He was selling it. So I bought the Xbox 360, took it with me. Never had the red ring of death. All right. I was one of the lucky ones. I had the OG. I had a white one too. My brother, our original one that we got for Christmas that we shared.
The hourglass.
Yeah. That one got the red ring of death. And then he eventually upgraded the black elite model. But I rocked the one I bought off the neighbor for ages. So if we're not counting family consoles, the 360 was the first I bought with my own money.
Nice.
Good answer to that one. Next one. What was the first game you bought with your own hard-earned cash?
Ooh, that is a harder one. I don't know if I've ever thought about what the first game I bought with my own money was. It was something. It was, you know what it was? Mass Effect. Because I got the 360 in college, and I was playing cheap free whatever he gave me with the console. So I don't even count that. But I'm going to GameStop intending to I was playing 2 Human. Okay, I didn't spend money for 2 Human. All right, he was like, take this, getting rid of this. I'm like, okay. Mass Effect. I went to the store and bought that, and best purchase I ever made.
I had a very similar 360 store. Bought it from a friend and gave me, was it Cameo and a couple of other games that it was just have these. Here's the thing. Just get all of this away from me. Very similar kind of vibe.
No sneaking on the BK games.
No sneaking. I wish I had the BK games.
Me too.
I think
me too.
Yeah. I think everyone does. And last question, this one's the new one I thought of. What's a game the one game you would leave in your will to your best friend if he's still alive or she's still alive?
Well,
your children. I don't know. Leave it to somebody.
So there are I think I have 2 games specifically from the GameCube that I still have. And by I still have, I mean my brother has them, but they're collectively ours, and he just holds on to them. And that's Super Smash Brothers Melee and Tales of Symphonia. Both the OG on the GameCube versions, obviously Melee, but I would, he can have one of those. I'll take the other one. I'm not picky on which one because those are both the 2 best games on the GameCube. So whatever I want to leave. I mean, if we're being, again, he's probably considered my best friend since we're twin brothers. So he's probably just going to keep them anyway. Yes. Yeah. So he probably just I die. He just keeps it. Nothing really changes hands.
You might want to check as well to see if he's left those games to you or he's yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Carry him with me, he says.
Difficult family conversation next time you talk. By the way, what's in your will?
So Melee is like mine.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, very, very good. We're happy to have you here, Kevin. But before we get into all the fun, Mark, tell us all about the awesome people that make this show possible.
Sure. Yeah. We have to thank all of our amazing supporters over at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, where you can go check out a free 7-day trial of all of our content. You get all these shows ad free. You get bonus shows, early shows, all that fun stuff. And I want to thank our Friends with Benefits tier, John Sedorf, the Phoenix Sisters cosplay duo, Brendan Myers, Matthew Keel, and Corian HD, as well as our BFF tier, Sean, Stella, and Henry Nias. You guys are all amazing. And I have to give a special shout out to a new member, Mary Letters, who checked out our free trial. Checking it out right now. Hope you're listening to this show, Mary. Hope you're enjoying the ad-free trial and all that kind of stuff. And if you like it, hope you stick around. If not, thank you for checking out the trial. We appreciate it. So go be like Mary. Check out the free trial at secretfriends.com. Patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. And if you can't throw us a buck over there, share the show, subscribe on YouTube, do all that kind of stuff. That's just free. One little click, everything helps. So we appreciate everything, even if you can't support us, like I said, by throwing a buck our way.
Yeah, patrons get ad-free episodes of everything and an awesome RSS feed that gets you all of our content ad-free first. So check that out if you love that. And you also get our YouTube content as well.
I do have a question for both of you, though, before we move on to everyone's favorite segment. And that is, today is International Video Game Day. I don't know if you guys knew that.
I did.
Oh,
Someone just wished me that earlier. And I was like, whoa, we're recording a video game podcast tonight. So that'll tell everyone when we recorded, because this isn't not dropping tonight, but it will drop a couple of days later. But happy International Video Game Day, everyone. And kind of similar to getting to know Kevin, I want to know, and since I'm putting you on the spot, I can go first on this one. Top 3 games ever, or if you can't narrow it down, since I am putting you on the spot, top 3 franchises. I'm going to take the easy route and do top 3 franchises. I have to pick the Mario franchise, Zelda franchise, and Pokemon. I have 2 or 3 of those tattooed on my body and would absolutely get something from the third. I just haven't settled on the design because I've drawn several of them. I could pick a game from each of those, most likely.
Maybe.
I think Super Mario World always sticks out to me. Pokemon's a little tougher, but man, I don't know. Pokemon's tough. I'm gonna have to ruminate on that.
Is it
one
just
for a
the
second.
games we love, Mark, or is it like these are the way you
games
show
you love?
people
This
how
isn't
awesome
like-
games are?
No, just games that you love, just your favorites, just like your desert island games, if you could, or
Sure.
franchises or whatever. I'm not, we're not looking for like philosophical stuff. Just your just favorites, just kind of showing a little bit about you. For Zelda, I always flip flop. Man, Breath of the Wild, Wind Waker, Ocarina. There's so many damn good Zelda games. It's so hard. I'll pick Wind Waker because that's the tattoo that I have.
Nice.
But it's so hard to pick. I really like. I flip flop. You could ask me in an hour. I'm going to change my answer. Yeah. So whoever wants to go first, like I said, I'm putting you guys. You guys have no idea. This isn't in the show notes. I'm making this up as I go along. Who wants to jump first and share your 3 favorite things?
I mean,
Alan,
I
go ahead.
have mine ready. I've done
Locked and
that
loaded.
top 25 list that was going around forever. So
Yeah.
I know my top 3 coming
go.
in at number 3. And I think these games accurately reflect what my favorite things in gaming, like favorite genres, favorite games. So number 3, Banjo-Kazooie.
Ooh, awesome.
I am a huge Banjo fan. I got the amiibo over here. I constantly get my hopes up every year that Xbox will bring him back. It hasn't happened
was
yet, but maybe one
Always
day.
one of my predictions too.
I just growing up on N64. I love Banjo. I know everyone talks about Super Mario 64. All right. No, I don't do that here. All right. I might be disrespecting you with the Mario franchise. I'm not a big Mario guy. I prefer my boy Luigi, but Banjo, I like to say Banjo walked so Mario could run. And I know that doesn't make sense chronologically. All right. But that's how I'm doing it.
Mario never had a backpack with a bird in it. Come on.
That's true.
Exactly. I just introduced my son to Banjo-Kazooie because he saw him in Smash Brothers and like the trailers and everything. And I grabbed out like the N64 controller, the whole nine. And he loved it. He absolutely loved it. So
Gruntilda's great.
Yeah, great.
It holds up really well, especially if you play the Xbox like remastered. I use remastered in quotes, but like the up-res and it's just a very good version that you can play on Xbox. So
and you can play it for like 85 hours trying to find all those collectibles.
It's true, but Banjo has a lot of games that people don't know. Like he has Game Boy games. Like most people don't know that, and they're good
on this.
I think my son loved Nuts and Bolts.
I don't know about that one, but I like it. It's a good game. I don't think it's a good Banjo game. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
Number 2, very easy. I love the whole series, but I'm gonna even the dark horse, and you'll know what I mean by that when I say what this is. Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2
great pick.
Phenomenal. I think it encompasses everything I love about role-playing games, from the choice and consequence to the deep character stories, and 2 really fleshes out backstories. And something for me that's really important with role-playing games is your party. And if you don't have an interesting party, like I might as well not be playing the game. You're just throwing me your fodder at that point. Like you have to make me care about these characters. You got to make me invested in them. And Mass Effect 2 does that better than most games, even today, can even dream of doing that.
So Kevin, I am also a Mass Effect aficionado. Who did you romance?
Depends on what playthrough you're talking about, but initially, I think I went with Miranda.
Okay.
But I've done like Liara, I've done Tally, like you can just go through and do all of them all. Like I think I'm missing 3 achievements in the Legendary Edition, and that is just for the like Nightmare or Impossible mode, whatever they call it, like the hardest difficulty. So.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm Jack Ride or Die. She's my lady.
Oh, really? I like Jack. I'm never like romantically into Jack.
She's the one you know will never really truly love you, but you want to. She plays hard to get, and you just left wanting more.
I also play default male shepherd. I know that might be a sin, but
I do too.
That's Commander Shepard.
Do you have the helmet? Do you have the helmet?
No, I don't have the helmet.
I have the helmet sitting back there. You can't see it now, but it'd be weird to show up with the helmet now.
And number 1, my favorite game of all time, for my favorite franchise of all time, is Tales of Symphonia on the GameCube.
Which you hope you'll get from your brother.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I do have it on every platform now. Wow. So I have it on Steam. I have the collector's edition for Switch for the remaster that they did. I have it on Xbox for the remaster, and I have it on PlayStation for the remaster. So like I can play this game anywhere I want to at any point. I just love it that much. It's not what got me into JRPGs, but I think it's what solidified my love of JRPGs. Again, such amazing party members, plot twists out the wazoo. If no one's played this game, like it's plot twist after plot twist, and it's done really good. And what is so phenomenal, I think, about this game is that it's not just the classic, oh, I'm a bad guy to be a bad guy. I like when villains have depth, they have a reason, and you're like, you know what? I totally get where you're coming from. Doesn't mean I agree with what you're doing, but you make a lot of sense.
Yep.
Your hair.
The bad guy that thinks he's a good guy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. No one truly believes they are the bad guy. Unless you're me, and I guess I do. I do things out of spite. Okay, I will give you my picks. So, number 3, Super Mario Brothers Odyssey. One of my favorite games of all time. I think it's the best Mario 3D platformer. It's so inventive with all the different hats, all the different abilities. That Bowser's, final Bowser mission, New Donk City, perfection. Love that game to pieces. Yes, the old games have a lot of heritage and things like that, but I hate to say it, they don't stand up to Mario Odyssey. It is perfection. Moving on to my second game. This was a hard pick, but I was going to say The Witcher 3. Talk about a game that that tried to push me away many times, but I kept on coming back to it because I was like, I know there's something there. When I finally got hold of it, I loved it to pieces. All of those side missions, all the craziness, and we're going to talk about expansions this episode, has some of the best expansions of any games ever. Love it to pieces. Witcher 3, love the series. I love all elements of Witcher. It's phenomenal. Only thing I've not read is the book, so I need to get around to that because I think that would be a good additive experience. And this is a hard one because Kevin already mentioned Mass Effect. And I will just say the trilogy because it's the reason I bought an Xbox 360 because I had it on PC. Something was wrong with my sound. I'm like, and then a buddy loaned me. I got my Xbox 360 because I won it through one of my fantasy football league. The money went to the Xbox 360 was the arcade edition with like no memory. The cheapo edition. Bought it. My friend loaned me the game and I was just blown away. Too amazing. The extra characters, the combat changes. And then the third game has its issues, but some of the amazing combat, the online stuff was amazing. And you know what? Andromeda had its issues, but still a lot of fun. Not a great story.
Andromeda.
I enjoyed it heavily, but it still had some issues. But I love that series, and I hope it comes back. And there we are. That's where I stand. I mean, I could give a bunch of others, but why bother?
Awesome.
Basically, just go play Mass Effect.
Exactly. Play Mass Effect. Okay. Now it's time. Well, you can play on the Wii U. I think you got one game. Was it one game on the Wii U? It was like the weirdest thing. Yeah. Here, play Mass Effect 3 or Mass Effect 2, and that's it. Who knew? Who needs the rest of the games? Well, now it's time to play our favorite game. The game where Mark rarely ever challenges my choices, and that is Buy, Rent, Return. This episode of this, we're doing expansions. So, gentlemen, I know there are questions in the pre-show about an expansion, because my choices were Bowser's Fury, which is part of the 3D World HD Remaster Collection. That's the only way you can play that game. Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty. Once again, you can only play that game if you own the base game. And then Destiny, the Taken King, which is part of many, many expansions of Destiny. Bowser's Fury is the one that stood out because is it truly an expansion? And my argument was it's a game that is kind of taking pieces from other things, and you can never buy it, purchase it separately, and it is doing its own thing, but it's a shorter kind of proof of concept. So I could see where you'd say, no, it doesn't count, but I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, I think I would call it an addition rather than an expansion, because it's not quite an expansion of
3D
the
World,
base game like the other two are, right? Like Phantom Liberty kind of continues the story. Taken King continues the story of Destiny. Bowser's Fury doesn't like necessarily continue the story of Mario 3D Land. It's a whole different kind of thing. It has, a couple of similar power-ups, but it's a very different type of game. But for the sake of like argument, yeah, I mean, it's an expansion or addition, I guess, whatever you want to call it.
The world of Mario 3D platformers?
Yeah. I mean, it's an extra thing included in the game, because we did have that game before, and this is a new version of it plus this expansion, I suppose you can call it. So, we can get into the nitty gritty of like expansion, DLC, addition, bonus, whatever. It's is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to take the opposite. I'm going to flip the coin on you and say I don't think expansions need to continue the story of the base game. In fact, I would argue I'd prefer they didn't continue. I'd prefer they were their own separate thing. And they the way I look at expansions is it's part of the base game, but it fundamentally changes something about the base. Like Phantom Liberty, or Phantom Liberty is a word, completely changes Cyber, like redoes all the trees, new story, like new area. Destiny the Taken King, that basically saved the game.
Fix the
Like
game.
that did, that did change Destiny. And I would argue Bowser's Fury, while it's nothing like the original game, that's a good thing. Like it adds something that only you can get from playing that experience.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I can give you that.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways with Nintendo lately, it feels like a lot of their games they're putting out lately. I can tell you that Luigi's Mansion 2 HD feels a little light. Didn't feel like a lot of new stuff, and the fact that you're getting a great game from Wii U plus all this extra content, it really says, what are you doing over there, Luigi's Mansion 2? Are you just a cheap cash in? Same thing with the Mario, the Donkey Kong Country. Sometimes, and then even Metroid Prime Remaster, that's only $40. So it's like,
I was just gonna say, at least that one's $40. The rest of these are asking full pop and doing basically nothing.
Well, here's a side tangent. I've never played Donkey Kong Country. On the Wii. So like $60 for me is completely fine because like I haven't bought the game before.
Sure.
Like it is brand new to me. Luigi's Mansion 2, I've never played that either. Like it's sitting over there. Now, here's the thing. Everyone's always complaining about the prices. I just get them from Play Asia and they're like $20 to $30 cheaper. You got to pay like $5 to import them, but like I'm playing games for a lot cheaper and everyone's over there complaining about full price.
I get my games from GameFly the majority of the time, and then sometimes I'll buy them again from GameFly and save money too. So yeah, I can't complain either. It is funny though because that is the third time that game will be out because Donkey Kong Country also is on the 3DS. So they're getting their most out of their games. So another question is expansion versus DLC. My kind of rule on DLC is it's smaller bits of content. It's like a new track. It's a new character. It's a new skin. It is maybe a new side quest or something like that. But it is typically not a huge change of the game. It's not like a huge storyline. It is typically DLC is what you can buy for like $10. So that's why I didn't include like the Mario Kart expansion because those are new tracks. A lot of those are additive from the other ones, but they're tracks. They don't really change the game. They're just more of the game from previous games.
I love the wording you used for that. You're not including the Mario Kart expansion in your list of expansions. Solid descriptor.
Well,
and like, that's the moment when I get kicked off the show. Enjoy, Kevin.
It's like, here's a new... they have season passes, expansion passes. Like Call of Duty. Did you call a new map something like an expansion?
You don't count the Octo expansion either?
I mean, you could, because that is truly like new content. You could. I mean, you could include the expansion. Yeah, you could, because it feels like side order is even different because it's like a roguelike of like a tower, and that feels like a completely different thing. So it's not just a new map. It feels like it's doing something kind of new. So there we go. So with that, we have our three choices: Bowser's Fury, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, and Destiny the Taken King. So Kevin, as our guest, what would you buy, what would you rent, and what would you return of these three expansions?
Ooh, I'm not going to make many friends with my choices. I want everyone to know this right now. I'm going to start with... Should I start with the controversial one? I'm going to start with the return. Can I start with return?
Go ahead.
I'm going to start with Return Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. I do not like CD Projekt Red games. This is like in general. I've tried The Witcher. I've tried 3. I've tried 2. Didn't like them. I put 5 hours into Cyberpunk and I was like, this feels bad to play. And this wasn't like at launch. This was after they said they fixed the game and they gave everyone that 5-hour trial or whatever. Like I played it and I was like, I still have bugs and I don't particularly find this very interesting. Now, that is totally just a me thing. Cyberpunk as a genre, like that doesn't do anything for me. That aesthetic does not interest me at all. I don't. So for me, that's the only reason I'm returning this. Like I'm sure this is a phenomenal expansion.
No hate, no hate. We're here for everybody and everybody's choices.
Rent, Bowser's Fury.
Okay.
And Sean, this one goes out to Sean Capri and Seth Sturgill, all right?
Hey, Sean. Hey, Seth.
This game is not as good as you guys say it is, all right? This game doesn't feel good to play. You're sliding the Mario when you're playing the base game, all right? The characters feel slippery. They're sliding off all the blocks. Like, I don't particularly think this is a very good Mario 3D platformer. Like, I think there are much better 3D platformers.
Not even when you turn into a giant cat.
The cat is cool. Everything else, though, like, I get a little frustrated playing this game.
Okay. Like the base game 3D World or just Bowser's Fury?
Yes. No, the base game 3D
Oh, the base game. Like Bowser's Fury, man. I feel like
Bowser's Fury is good, but like I gotta do is because he only comes as a package.
If you don't want the base game, then you're I mean
Yep.
Unless you say to masochistic or something like that. I will buy you $60 game for this little expansion.
Yep.
And then I'm buying Destiny the Taken King because that expansion, it was awesome. That rekindled my love of Destiny. Unfortunately, isn't there today with Destiny 2, even though I hear some good things going on, but I fell off that train hard. I think the Taken King was really the thing that kept me around. That raid was amazing. Like, I have nothing but good things to say about the Taken King.
Hell yeah.
Here.
Absolutely. Yep.
Mark, what do you think?
I'm like this close to saying copy paste, honestly, because I'm gonna straight up return Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. I put a little bit more time into Cyberpunk, but not enough to jump into the DLC. Oh yeah, I played it for probably twice as long, maybe put 10, 15 hours in, but not enough to like jump into Phantom Liberty or want more of it. Like, I did my piece, I did my time, I enjoyed it for kind of what it was, but just kind of like, it was like, I'm not hunting down anything extra. I don't really care. Returning, this one's tough, and I'm going to take a slightly different approach to it than Kevin, just to mix things up. I literally could have copy and pasted your answer though. Fantastic. I'm going to rent Destiny the Taken King just because it doesn't exist anymore.
R.I.P.
Because it's, and we've talked about this in the, recently, very recently, about like, you can't play, like the last episode, I think we covered this. You can't play Destiny. You can't play even base Destiny 2. Like, it changes
even
so
some
much.
of any Destiny 2. I mean, you can't even start where you want to in a lot of ways.
No. Yeah. So like, that game, and it's great if you're in it and it's always evolving, but like the game's just not the same anymore. So I have to put that in my return, just because back in the day, absolutely, that kept me in Destiny. That was amazing. It fixed everything. It just felt so good, but it doesn't exist anymore. Whereas Bowser's Fury, I can just play that. I love that expansion. I've beaten it a few times. I played it with Finn recently. I love that expansion, and it can still be played. You know what I mean? Like, that's my distinction right now. But that's about it. And I'm only saying that just to be slightly different than Kevin. Otherwise, yeah, like the Taken King was so freaking good. And Bowser Field, while I like Super Mario Cats, as we call it in my house, not to be confused with Super Mario Hats, which Todd mentioned earlier. Distinctions when you have a 4-year-old. Bowser's Fury was like that proof of concept that was like, I need more of this. I want more of this. Please give me more of this. And then they still haven't. So it's this weird, like, awesome snapshot of something, or like a taste of a dessert you'll never have. Like, it's the weirdest thing, but I love it for what it is. So that's my picks, simply to be slightly different than Kevin.
I appreciate the distinction levels of granularity that we get into in this podcast. Well, myself, I am going to return Destiny Taken King. I love Destiny. I love Destiny 2. I'm actually going to finish The Last Light or Lightfall. Last Light? The thing before the final shape. I'm going to do that because I really need to see this through. I've been at it since the alpha. But to your point, you can't play this anymore. It's just a moment in time, which I appreciated, but quite honestly, I can never go back to it. You can probably watch walkthroughs. That's about it. So It's one of those things that it is what it is. It's in the past, and I salute you for all the love and bringing me back and keeping me into Destiny through the good and through the bad. For those of us who lived through that, I'm going to rent Bowser's Fury because it is a very small snapshot of something that I want more of, but we only got a small snapshot. It's a pretty small game, but it's amazing. And I love it. It's great. I think I even still have like a video clip out there of me getting stuck in a block in the game, which was absolutely hilarious. I'm like, what am I even doing here? Found the Nintendo glitch, but it's great. But to your point, Mark, it's been almost 7 years since Odyssey. What are you doing, guys? Come on. So, but great. I love all the mechanics, being the cat, fighting Bowser like you're like going through like he's a Super Saiyan. Really cool, unexpected, but I want more. But really a great idea that was put out there. And lastly, having the last thing to say on Cyberpunk 2077, it's a game that my son devoured. It was his first CD Projekt Red game. He's 18 now. Absolutely loved it. He was showing me what he was doing. I'm like, okay, I got to get back into this game. I kept on pushing it out because I had a gaming laptop that was having issues. Finally got a good gaming PC and then got back into it. And then I made a bad choice because I was going to play straight through Cyberpunk. I selected the mission for Phantom Liberty by mistake. And I'm like, crap, I guess I'm all in. And I'm all in. I love this because essentially it's Escape from New York. The president lands. You've got to protect the president. I love to pieces. I think it's awesome. Idris Elba is amazing, and this has come together. This is a redemption story that we haven't seen in games since like Final Fantasy XIV. We saw it in No Man's Sky, and the fact that Cyberpunk feels like so much of a better game to me. I like the way it plays, but it's not for everybody. It's definitely a weird mix of shooting and a little bit of RPG elements for that, but I wholeheartedly love it and how many crazy, wacky things you can do, the choices you make. So it is my choice. I'm still playing through it. I haven't completed it yet, but absolutely love it. So those are our choices. We may regret them later, but before we move on, we got one question that's just tied to a general question from the Winter Gamer. He said, what are your top 3 licensed games? So you have the games that are often bad just because of the license they come from. So Kevin, do you have 3 licensed games that you love?
I do have 3 licensed games I love. I'm going to start off with Marvel Ultimate Alliance, 1 and 2. Either one. You can pick either one. They're both phenomenal. I like 3. I don't think it quite hits the heights of 1 and 2. It gets a little grindy at the end there, but like just bringing all the Marvel characters that I love to get, like I was a Marvel kid growing up. These games were I would sit there, I would just put little things like, give me lore. I'll sit in Doctor Strange's little sanctuarium and then read lore learn things about the Marvel characters that I don't know. So Marvel Ultimate Alliance for sure. And then X-Men Legends in the same kind of vein, which I think people always forget. Like X-Men Legends it's not as good, but it's pretty close to Marvel Ultimate Alliance, especially like I think X-Men were really big, especially around that time. Probably bigger than some of the MCU characters. Like Iron Man wasn't the star of Marvel Ultimate Alliance. He wouldn't become popular for another decade or so, right? Like we were like Wolverine, Nightcrawler, like that's who we wanted to play as. And this game let us fulfill those dreams. And then the last one that I will give a shout out to, and is surprising because I'm not like I like this series. It's not my favorite thing. But Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers on the GameCube.
Now you're talking.
Phenomenal game. Has no right to be as good as it is. Like it's a hack and slash game, but like it's co-op. You can play it with. it's just so good. Had no right to be this good. That was just one of those. I don't know if anybody knows. Everybody knows Blockbuster, but I had a Hollywood Video. All right.
Oh yeah, Hollywood Video.
Rented this from Hollywood Video, and this was constantly like, Grandma, you gotta get it again. We gotta keep playing Lord of the Rings. This game was phenomenal.
Nice.
Love that choice. I actually own one on the original Xbox. I can't remember which one it is. Not many are backwards compatible, so pretty limited there. Mark, your licensed games.
Oh man, it's tough not to just go Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, and like
Star Wars is too easy for you.
My newest addiction, Star Wars Hunters. But I'm gonna divert a little bit of the attention. I'll give one. I'll say Jedi Survivor, and that'll be my only Star Wars game. But I am still super addicted to Star Wars Hunters. So if anyone wants to play, hit me up. I'm also gonna give a shout out to Batman Arkham City. Because holy crap. Man, the third one's tough. I kind of want to go. Oh man. I kind of even want to say like Shredder's Revenge, but part of me is also screaming like say GoldenEye and give like a good shout out there. But I also like kind of want to be super weird and say Grimace's Birthday on the Game Boy Color that came out last year.
Gotta love it.
Because that game was way like better than it should have been for a 2023 Game Boy Color game. I'm gonna go Shredder's Revenge because I was just playing it this weekend and it's
great choice.
So great,
so
great
great choice.
But like there's good license games. License games get a lot of shit a lot of times and a lot of deserved, but there are some great ones. So yeah. I could have gone all Star Wars, so I didn't.
You know what?
Battlefront 2.
That would have been allowed. Yeah. I mean, Star Wars has so many good games.
Yep.
Okay.
Todd.
I'm going to go with some deep cuts here. Star Trek Voyager, Elite Force. Star Trek Voyager is my least favorite Star Trek series, but the game kicked ass. It was essentially a first-person shooter. It was amazing, cool Star Trek stuff. So that is a game that if you looked at today, you'd be like, that looks like garbage, but it's okay. Then I'm going DuckTales. I love the original DuckTales game on the NES, and I love the 360 remaster, or whatever you call it. It was so cute. The original voices, so much fun. And then I would say my third, I really am a fan of the Transformers Cybertron games, but the game I really loved the Transformers was the Platinum game. I can't remember what it was called, but it was essentially a really cool action game, but it looked like the 80s cartoon. So cool cell shading, amazing, good voice acting. Yeah.
War of Cybertron?
No, that was the Devastation. Platinum made it, yes. And they made a Turtles game that looked awesome but played like poop. Nobody liked it. But it looked cool. It looked really awesome. So there we go. We got a really quick question last in, and this is probably going to be very quick because it's getting late. But Raul Giver asked the questions of thoughts on recent disclosed performance of Hellblade 2 and why it didn't do better. I'm not sure if you guys saw this. It was just put out there, but basically Hellblade 2 from the sales charts didn't top basically didn't go past the top 30, I believe, and it's only number 21 on Xbox charts. It's an exclusive. Not sure how I did it on Steam, but there you go. And I don't think the game is even out. They didn't have a physical release either, so we weren't going to the store to buy it. So basically, if you bought it on Xbox online and then you bought it on Steam, probably the only place you could actually buy it. But a lot of people were playing on a Game Pass, but I don't know how well it was played on Game Pass when you look like their top games. I don't think it was in their top 10. It was 12th. Okay, 12th. There you go. Very good. So, I have given my thoughts on this, but I would say a lot of it had to do with the fact that they didn't do much advertising whatsoever. They didn't really try to grow the audience, and they lost a part of the original audience because it wasn't on PlayStation. So I think it's something where it was kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't really put it out there, get it in more faces that aren't familiar with the game, how are you expecting to grow? And Game Pass, it's an 8-hour game or 6-hour game. So I don't know.
I can give my thoughts as someone that actually really likes Hellblade 2. I don't think I don't like it more than the original, which is actually one of my favorite games. Like if you'd kept going for my favorite games of all time, that's probably number 5. I love Hellblade, and I loved Hellblade 2. I cannot get over the obsession with sales on Xbox because it makes no sense to focus on sales numbers while pushing a subscription service. You can't have it both ways. You either want subscribers and play in the game there, or you want people to buy the game. You can't say, I want you to do both. It doesn't work that way. So I really get frustrated when people bring up sales numbers because that's, as far as I know, that's not what Xbox is looking for. They're looking for subscription numbers. They're looking for engagement. It's 12th for the month on Game Pass, which I don't think, again, I don't remember May specifically. I think Star Wars dropped in May, or that might have been April. So like 12th is pretty good for a niche 6-hour walking simulator type game, psychological. Like I really don't know what people expected. I think originally, and I'm going on a rant here, all right, I'm very passionate about Hellblade. I will probably go off on my show this week about this, but they set pretty clear expectations about what this game was in January at the developer direct. I think people just had, whether it's right or wrong, they had expectations that this was going to be some sort of God of War type experience, a big blockbuster 20-hour epic, and maybe Xbox set themselves up with that by showing it 4 times, and that was probably way too much. But I really, like, at this point, the narrative is so old to me. Like, we need to stop focusing on sales for Hellblade.
Yeah.
It is interesting, though, because while subscriptions are good, Xbox has said they only anticipate Game Pass to get 20% of the revenue. So they're not expecting Game Pass to be a big part of their revenue. They've still got to sell. That's why that's why they're putting more games out there, and that's why people were like, "Oh wow, look at Sea of Thieves! It's in Xbox now has how many titles on PlayStation? It's really the most profit and revenue, whatever gets you there." And quite honestly, Game Pass on PC isn't really growing at this point, so Steam is a huge audience. So if it's not really selling there, and they spend 6 years on a game, essentially, if it doesn't push Game Pass, if it doesn't do other things, then they're going to say, what are you doing to keep your spot in there? And they've made 2 games on Xbox. They made the one Ninja. Well, they need that one killer game. They made this, and they've got to say, I would say Hellblade on the PlayStation, when it was reversed on PlayStation, looked amazing. With all the backing of Xbox, I thought Hellblade looked good, but I didn't think it was a leap forward. Didn't like, oh my God, it did so much different. Wow. It was more of this. Really? It was more of the same. Yeah, I felt
the best. I think this is the best looking game this entire generation.
I mean, I think that's fine, but I don't think a game should be identified only because of how it looks. If that's what it's all based on, I mean, there are better looking games out there for me, and that's where it's depending on what it looks. But I would say a lot of times I felt like the narrative was very similar. They changed some things, and it didn't look like a leap forward, especially now being backed by one of the biggest companies in the world, and it took 6 years. So I think a lot of people would say, you split that much time on it, it didn't perform well. That doesn't bode well for Xbox Studios. And that's what the biggest concern would be for me.
I understand. I know we're going off on a tangent, but I completely understand that point about, it was in development for a long time. It hasn't made its money back. I do think that Xbox needs games that are, and I don't mean this derogatory, but Game Pass filler. All right. Not every game is going to be pushing the subscriptions, Call of Duty level, Starfield. Like, I don't think it's reasonable to expect every game to hit that zeitgeist moment. You need the smaller games to keep people engaged, waiting in between those games. That's my personal feelings. That being said, I really do hope this game comes to PlayStation. I know Xbox fans might not want to hear that. I do hope this comes to PlayStation. I think this would be a perfect game to put over on that platform. I think it would sell better on PlayStation. Like, they would be more open to it. And I just don't really see a reason to keep it Xbox exclusive for longer than a year.
I think that might have been part of this downfall, though, or at least the expectation that was set is a lot of, like you said, the Game Pass filler games, and even a lot of like their A tier games on Xbox are now going to PlayStation. So for Xbox to hold something back and, like you said, show it off so many times and really put it up with something, I think, on a kind of a pedestal like they were doing with Starfield, that they kind of set their own expectations. Then, Todd, to your point, didn't follow it up with marketing. But like there was this kind of weird mix of like lofty expectations, no marketing. So like you're thinking, oh, is this good enough that it's going to just blow people out of the water on every single level? It looks amazing. Is it that good that it doesn't need marketing? And you get those things, and then you start hearing early reviews. And I haven't played it yet. And part of the reason is I started hearing those early reviews, and it's like, it's fine. And it's going to be that Game Pass filler for me somewhere down the road. It's going to be, I'm going to play it when there's nothing else. And I'm just like, I'll fill 6 hours with this. But I think kind of Xbox just fumbled each step of this. If they released it on PlayStation, then it does fill more of that like filler role. We can make some money over here. We can make it like add another title to Game Pass and that kind of stuff. But they set it up so high, and then I think under marketed, under delivered in certain respects to it. When you see something set up that much, you kind of like the God of War comparisons for me, aside from the setting and the character type kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I think they were setting it up like that, showing it off so many times. And again, having no marketing behind it is like, is this game that good that it's just going to stand on its own laurels? And I don't know, maybe just, I think didn't put enough money in it to get it out there to new people that kind of maybe needed to see it for the first time to just say, oh, what is this? It's a weird one.
I would say, especially the type of game it is. With Xbox kind of trying to create a new image for themselves that isn't the Gears, Halo, Forza studio. You got a game that was previously on other platforms and it wasn't there anymore. So you're kind of limiting some of the audience that maybe don't want to own an Xbox. And then the type of game it is, you need to get this word out about this game. You need to kind of, if you want to grow the audience and you want to bring in different audience to Xbox, this is the type of game you do it for. It's a very introspective game that is covering a lot of different topics. It's beautiful. And especially if we got series like Game of Thrones, we've got The Last of Us. We're getting, it's the age of TV where it's elevated, especially this feels like a game you got to get in front of people and tell them what it is. And I felt like from all of the advertising, unless you were all in on Hellblade and you knew what it was, a lot of people were just befuddled by it. Like my buddy was sitting next to me at the Xbox showcase last year. He goes, I don't know what this is. So like the marketing was bad. Then they didn't push it. They didn't try to get it out to other audiences. And it's like, well, of course it's going to fail. And I don't know what they want to do. It was basically for people who already knew what it was. And it's like, well, that's not how you grow your Game Pass. And you're not getting Game Pass for one game. You're getting for everything. And it's an 8-hour game. So I hope Ninja Theory gets more opportunities to do different things. I would like to see them do some of their stuff from the past, which was, we know they've got great combat mechanics. They can do a lot of things from their older games and more balance the narrative with the gameplay, because that's where I think God of War does a great job balancing the narrative with the gameplay versus it's all just narrative and a little bit of gameplay that a lot of people said that's not the best part. So it's like, how about you make it a fantastic part to balance it out? And then you could say, this is why we spent 6 hours on, because we fix the part that people didn't care about, even though we got the chops to do the cool narrative, because I think they still nailed that. It just, and to your point, Mark, when they first showcased this game off, they show the huge giant coming in, all the stuff from like, this looks like a badass epic. And then it's like,
they really set it up as an action game.
That's not much of that. There's a little bit of battle with the giants and you get that late in the game, but that's not really the point. It is a walking simulator. So it's kind of like a bait and switch for a lot of people if you weren't new to it. So, but I appreciate everybody's theory on on their thoughts on the game, and they love it. So I'm glad there's games like this on Xbox, but it's a tough one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now let's get into what we've been playing. We've been talking about a lot of topics, a lot of things, but that's why we're here. So Kevin, you played a game I know nothing about.
Yeah,
What
I've
is
been
this?
playing The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak. So this is the most recent entry in the Trails series, which, if you're unfamiliar, is a long-running JRPG series. This is game number 13 in the saga.
Whoa, where did this
Um,
start?
it's been ages. I know Trails in the Sky, the trilogy, isn't even on modern platforms. You can play it on Steam and PSP. I
Whoa.
so yeah,
Wow.
it's been I think it's PSP. It might have been the Vita, but it's been a long time. And they say just recently they said they're 60 to 70% done. So if you can think of this game as the MCU of JRPGs, where the Sky trilogy is one arc, then you have the Crossbell duology, one arc, you have the Cold Steel games, all four of them, that's an arc. This is the beginning of the Daybreak right now duology. I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy. I know the West gets these games a little later than Japan. Like Japan is already 2 games ahead of us, so there's 15 of them total, but we're waiting. Like the Daybreak 2 is coming next year. This is one of the best JRPG series in gaming, and I can't say that enough. Like, people really are sleeping on this series, and I think it's just because like there's so many, it seems almost impenetrable, but like there are good starting points. These games rely on like world building, character building. Like, if you're into that, there isn't a series that does it much better than this. And then you mix in fantastic turn-based combat, which is like the original 12 games, although Daybreak adds in an action RPG mechanic too. So when you're out in the field, you can just hack and slash enemies and then instantly switch into turn-based
Oh, cool.
combat, which is something Metaphor ReFantasio, which comes out later this year, they're going to be doing as well. It's kind of inspired from Daybreak, so they're pushing things forward in the genre as well. Like, they understand like not everyone wants a turn-based game. They want to give you like options to make you feel more engaged, but like they can be long games for sure. Some people can put hundreds of hours into these games, but the narrative, the rich characters, and then the just overarching story just keeps me coming back every single time. I love it. I can't wait. I'm already counting down for 2025 where I can get Daybreak 2. I haven't even finished this one, but I'm about 18 hours in so far. I'm probably halfway through the game, so yeah, it's a great one.
Awesome.
So if someone was new to this series, I'm trying to think of a way to if they had a Switch, could they play any of these games?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They are all on Switch except a few of them. So the
Okay.
Sky trilogy, which is like the starting point, isn't on Switch. However, they've basically all but confirmed remasters or remakes of Sky coming. They're just tied up in like licensing. The publisher now isn't the publisher for those, so those will probably be happening in the near future, maybe by like announced by the end of the year. I would stay tuned for that. But you have Trails from Zero and Trails Through Azure both on Switch. Those are actually the two that I started with. And I think Trails Through Azure is the best game in the series so far. So like not a bad jumping in point at all if you want to start with those two games. And then the Cold Steel games, 3 and 4 are on Switch. 1 and 2 are on Switch in Japan. But again, licensing is stopping them from being on Switch in here. So if you have a Japanese account, you can play them, but you can't get those ones over here. And then Reverie's on Switch, and Daybreak is also on Switch.
Wow.
13 games. Okay, folks, start playing now because you'll be playing for another 13 years.
Yeah, it took me about 2.5 years to catch up, and that's like not doing all the side content in every game. That was like I made a mission to like catch up.
Wow.
That's amazing. Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Yeah, I think I just looked Steam, first games there from 2004. So 20 years of gaming history. That's amazing. They're a franchise that, quite honestly, I've heard of, but didn't know anything about it. So thank you for the feedback on that, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Always happy to preach the good word.
Right.
And you said
So
the originals
Mark-
are PSP, right?
I think Trails.
So it was on Vita and PS3 and
okay.
PC and PSP. Yeah.
Okay.
The
It wasn't
reason I'm
PSP, it was
asking is,
And one of those things
there
is still
are
alive.
Devices like this that can kind of do some PSP stuff, especially
Yeah.
the newer versions of these kind of things.
Oh, no, it was on PSP. It was on PSP
right?
as well.
So
Yep.
if that doesn't exist on Switch, you could probably play the original version on a kind of good emulator machine if you happen to have one of those.
Yeah.
Not
It was probably on the Vita store, right, for PSP? Like, could you get it there? I assume it just emulated it.
I would recommend, if you can, playing the PlayStation 3 or the PC version of these games, because they made quality of life improvements such as high speed / turbo mode. The old games are very much known for the slowest animations in video games. Swear to God, you'll be watching them do their attacks for way too long. I only play on turbo mode even now because now the modern games reasonable. If you want to turn it off, it's fine. I like to get through the animations, but those old games almost unplayable without turbo mode. They go so slow.
Oof. All right. Good.
Mark, report back
Yep.
with your findings.
There we go. All right. For me, I've been again hooked on Star Wars Hunters. Haven't been playing too much new. I'm still waiting. We got the physical edition of of Luigi's Mansion 2, and my wife initially instantly stole it, and I haven't seen that cart since. So while I wait for that, I have been playing a little bit of Pokemon Y. Finn is still obsessed with Pokemon, but we have done damn near everything we can. There's a couple of things that we have to catch or evolve or whatever in Pokemon Shield, but our Pokedexes, all three of them with the DLC expansion, are almost filled. It's ridiculous. So I started playing Pokemon Y. He's been watching me a little bit of that on the 3DS, and to get a little bit hyped for the new Mario and Luigi game that's coming out on Switch, I've been playing Superstar Saga on my RG35XX. Great game. I've played it before, and I've just been going back.
That's GBA, right? That was what it came out on.
GBA. Yep, correct.
So good. So good.
So great. So much weird humor and just it's so good. So that's basically what I've been playing between Pokemon and, of course, like I said, Pokemon, Sword, and still bouncing around in that, and Star Wars Hunters. I am working my way through the battle pass and unlocking all the characters. I am ridiculously hooked on that damn game.
Who would have thought a Star Wars game would get Mark?
I know. I've never been a hero shooter kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm
need the right license, right? I'm excited for Marvel Rivals. That looks cool. I want to play Spider-Man, do that stuff. But yeah, I totally get it.
That's all I need. So there we go.
Yeah.
Todd, you've been playing some demos?
I've been really hard to stick with one game. I did play Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door. It just doesn't grab me, but it's cool. I like the looks. It's a great update. I'm just not an RPG guy. Turn based. I like more action RPG. Turn based. I think the only turn based RPG I really love is the South Park series, just because there's no grinding whatsoever. You just go through that story, you just have fun, and you tell fart jokes, and that's my type. So really, so I'm really stuck. And I did get Mario Luigi's Mansion 2, but it feels too early. I want spooky time to play it. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to break the monotony. Steam had this huge demo fest, and I really wish there was more demos from all of the E3 showcases we got. The Summer Games Fest. I wish there was more demos from that on the consoles. But man, PC dropped 1,800 demos. So the games I have been playing, G.I. Joe, Wrath of Cobra, the demo is out on Steam. It is amazing. This is essentially Shredder's Revenge with G.I. Joe. It's got an amazing cinematic sequence, reminds you of the old like cartoon. There's an original song. It's like all the classic characters. You could pick 4 of them. I imagine if the game does well, they'll drop in new characters DLC wise. They'll have different missions and bosses, but it is great. It is the 1984 cartoon personified with 4 great characters with all different abilities. It's fun. Like even Scarlet, she does like her taunt pose. She shoots basically lacrosse bows into the ground. It looks like a smiley face. It's just fun. They're just having a good time with it. Baroness, Destro, they give you 2 missions and you can play all the characters. Highly recommended. It's fun.
Awesome.
Cool.
Then, and by the way, Kevin, I put if you click on the link there, you can actually see the trailers for these games. So they're talking about them if it interests you at all. Then I played The First Descendant. This just dropped. It's a new free-to-play game. This has been in a lot of those game showcases where you see this game. It looks ridiculous. It looks like a game you never could have thought could ever been made when you were a kid, and it's free to play. The best thing I can say about The First Descendant is it is like if Zack Snyder decided to make Destiny. It is like so over the top, over engineered armor. It's third person. Basically get a team of 3, go out and wreak havoc. It's all, you get weapons and different abilities and things like that. But the best part of the game is you get a grapple hook. It's cool when you do that. But as soon as you get done with the first mission, it feels too easy. You go in, you're in a lobby with a bunch of jabronis with all of their usernames. And I'm like, been there, done that. I'm out. But if you need something different, like to get, when Destiny is lacking and you just want to get in there, play with a bunch of dudes or dudettes or whoever, and just have good time, because it's a beautiful game. It's free to play. Give it a try. But I just could see from the outset what their like model was going to be. And I'm like, no way. It's going to be like skins, maybe some different things. But I just found the story felt like I said a Zack Snyder film. So
is this the game that's kind of getting shit on right now for straight up ripping off Destiny with some of the icons?
I think they stole the icons,
like straight up. Like, this is a little
pretty much like one of the sets of armor. The guy was playing with the horns. Yeah. They got a bunny girl. Yeah, it's by Nexon. It's not like original whatsoever.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I wanted to try it to see. I'm like, I wanted a palate cleanser, and that's exactly what that game was. Then this game kind of blew me away. I'm not good at it, but I think this is going to be a lot of people's favorite games. It's Parcel Core. So this is essentially, what if you had Crazy Taxi teamed up with Jet Set Radio? And that's exactly what this game is. Cool soundtrack. You're a bike messenger. You're going to deliver packages in weird environments. You do tricks. You get points. And you can pick your squad, you can pick your team, and basically you're taking on jobs to get parcels and bring them back. And it's timed, and try not to die. And the funny part is when you do die or get hit, the guy just takes a bicycle out of his backpack and starts racing again. So it's very clever, very cool looking, and apparently it's coming to Xbox as well. But this was a lot of fun, but I'm horrible at it. So I think, though, some people are just going to dig it because it's got a vibe, and I think it's really neat. The character it controls really well, and it's fun. It's just definitely hitting the type of game where I think it's like, wow, this could be a really fun game for a lot of people.
You described it perfectly. This trailer it looks good. Like you're getting me interested here.
Yeah, it's just I like the vibe. I like the art. The art style is very clean, but it has a cool, like overly clunky aesthetic in a lot of ways. It's got a little bit of sense of humor when you talk to the people you're getting your parcels for. So, and you can pick who you ride as. So I think there's going to be something there. I'm not sure if it's like $30, and it might be coming to Game Pass. So look for it. It said 2024
and Xbox Series consoles September 3rd.
Okay, coming soon. So definitely check it out. Hopefully they'll put a demo on the consoles too, because I think everybody should try it out.
Yeah.
And then the last game, holy cow, I say the best for last. This game is called Dungeon Clawer. Now, I didn't say crawler, I said clawer. those claw games where you got to pick up things and you can get a stuffed animal. Everybody's done it before, and they even had that little game on the 3DS. Remember that game, Mark? Where it was like the little bunny, and you had the claw game to get like the little badges for your 3DS. What was it called? I can't remember. But this
the Bunny Arcade,
I think it was. So this game is very clever because it's a roguelike, but it takes its combat style and your weapons and all of your power-ups from basically a claw pit. You get 2 claws, and so basically every round you get 2 claws. They dig in and they pull out stuff, and whatever you get is what you're going to use as your attack or your defense and different things like that. One of the claws is magnetic, though, so it can get it can attract more like swords and things. And then you can get wands, you can different things. And it's hilarious. And it's like you're going through, and they even have like a Plinko level where it's basically you beat the guys and you go on like this little overworld, which is just very simple. But the Plinko level is great because basically you spend cash you get from the mission to spend money on basically attempts at the Plinko as you try to get in your little cart. You can also spend money to change out the thing you're trying to get, which is fun. And I died, but the enemies are clever. There was like a shark and a pair of shorts, which was who we were battling. And it's cute. And you can choose your hero, and he has different attributes. So this game would be perfect on mobile. It would be great on Switch. I just loved it, and I could see myself really getting into this game.
It was really interesting.
Reminds me of Concept. What was it called? The Pinball. Is it Pinball Wizard? What was that game called? It was on mobile. It was on Switch. I think it's the Pinball Wizard. But like just in concept of like something so weird of like magic spells with pinball. Like
was it Wizard?
Very similar. No, I think it's the Pinball Wizard. I think is the game of that I'm thinking of. It was on Apple Arcade for a while, and Switch. But like reminds me of that like weird things that you wouldn't expect to go together, coming together in a very simple to understand concept that just is more fun than it should be. Or like Pocket Card Jockey, like something that's just like, why do these two things fit together? Oh my goodness, it's fun.
Also Quest. Yeah. All of these mashups of games that shouldn't go together that I really enjoyed. So yeah, check out Dungeon Clar. It's very cute. Like I said, I think it'd be perfect on mobile or in Switch. I think it'd be really good there. So that is what we've been gaming. And before we get into the bonus round and call this episode done, here's an ad. Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show. Okay, in the bonus round, we're here to talk about expansions. We already talked about a couple that were out there that exist, but we want to talk about what are some of our favorite expansions, and then also what games we believe maybe that have been a little bit ignored that should get at least an expansion to really satisfy people's desire for more of those games. But before we get into it, we got a couple comments. Mark, do you want to take those?
Yeah, sure. So what are your some favorite expansions? We asked that in our Discord group. So we've got Ryuketsu 2043. This one's taken from Threads, I believe.
Yeah, Clint Coombs, we've had on the show.
Said StarCraft Brood War is one of my most loved expansions. I would really like to see Hogwarts Legacy get an expansion. I know my wife's just dying for something more in that game as well. Great answer. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love an expansion of that as well.
Yeah. Although she was very happy they finally just unlocked the PlayStation exclusive quest on Xbox. So she was able to play that quest that PlayStation owners have had for a year or whatever it has been. And it was freaky. I watched that one. I watched her play through that, and it was a really... Todd, have you played this game at all?
I beat the game, and I have it on PlayStation. I don't remember what the actual quest was.
So this one is, I think you have to finish the game to get it. You become a shop owner. You talk to this.
No, I did not do
house
that.
Elf. You should play it because it is perfect dark. It
really
messes with you. Oh yeah, dude, it messes with you so bad. You think you're in a room and you're like, where's the exit? And then you turn around and the door that you came through is gone and there's a dummy behind you. And like that kind of stuff, the whole thing, it's like 30 minutes of just effing with your brain. It is
like a little Control or Alan Wake. Interesting.
Twisted. Yeah, it's
cool.
It was good. It was fun to watch. She was not a huge fan of it, but as a fan of games that mess with you, she thought it was cool, but didn't quite fit with the tone of the rest of the game. Like she said that it just kind of felt like it kind of, I don't know, diverted or something like that. She played through the whole quest and owns a store now and all that kind of whatever. But she was just like, this is kind of weird. And it's kind of like, I think it overstayed its welcome for her. I thought it was very entertaining to watch. So if you haven't played that one, whether you're on PlayStation or Xbox, go check it out. But after that, she was like, I want them to add more stuff to this. She's like, I've beaten it a few times with all the different houses. She's gotten all the different achievements. So she's really waiting on that one. Lamorta Savage, who we've had on the show. I've played Cyberpunk 2077 multiple times, trying out each of the starting storylines. 2077 recently got an expansion with Phantom Liberty, and I feel like they can expand it even more. Heck, even go as far as making a prequel that entertained with Netflix series Cyberpunk. You can play as David's character. So, yeah, more Cyberpunk expansions, more character deep dives, and that kind of stuff. Sounds fun for a Cyberpunk fan.
Yeah, the Cyberpunk that anime series, actually they did have content from that. And they added into the game when they were doing all of the work to fix Cyberpunk. So they've really enjoyed that. And I think we're getting some more Cyberpunk, and that's it. I think they have decided that there's no more expansions for this game, and they're going to go off and do the next thing. So, but yeah, I think it's a cool world. They could definitely do with more. So, with that though, gentlemen, Kevin, what are some of your favorite expansions?
My first one I wanted to bring up, and again, this will go back to how we define an expansion, but the Shadow Broker from Mass Effect 2. It is a good one. I think it expands. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I think it expands the characters in a way that we didn't get to see in the original, in the OG Mass Effect 2, especially because like brings back a fan favorite from the original game, obviously, but like. I'm glad that in the Legendary Edition, like I just played it and because it's like built in now. Like you don't even realize, like you don't have to go to a separate menu. You don't even have to realize like that you're doing it. It's just there. And I like when expansion content is just integrated into the game.
Yep.
No, that's a great pick. That was very iconic and made me think of like it put Mass Effect in a very different light to me than it had been before, which accomplished quite a bit.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Other than that, I'm going to go a little more recent, and that's Night Springs for Alan Wake 2. If anyone knows me, I love Remedy. I love Sam Lake. I love what they're doing with Alan Wake Control. I even loved Quantum Break when I just played it, and I'm sad that that's not technically canon. But if you play Night Springs, you will have a hard time convincing me that they don't want it to be canon, because there are just so many Easter eggs and callbacks. It's just like, they're telling a good story, an interesting story, a mind-bending story, while also giving you so much fan service. But it's not like cringy fan service. They just know what they're doing. And it's a short expansion so far. There's another one coming, but man, I loved those 3 episodes so much.
I loved Mass Effect or Alan Wake 2. And I've not played the DLC. I love Control. Quantum Break, I love that game. I had the final boss, so I ended up just watching it because it drove me nuts. But I love all the stuff they do, and I do need to play both Control's expansion and also the Alan Wake stuff because I've heard it's phenomenal.
I liked the Alan Wake expansion for Control. I didn't like the Foundation one, I believe it was called. So I was a little mixed on Control's expansions.
I got screwed by that because they did the worst thing, which when they brought out their new edition, that it didn't cross save into the PS5 version. It was like stupid. It was horrible because I'm like, I want a better performing system than the PS4, so I play the PS4 version on my PS5 so I don't have to start the game over, which is very frustrating.
Yeah.
Any others?
Those are the 2 that come. I have one that I don't like sure. Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn was an expansion that came out.
That was 2 years after, right?
Yeah, it came out way too late and it wasn't good. It took 13 hours to 100%, which I had to get my 100% back. But the story is just boring. It doesn't add anything interesting. We didn't need more content. I love the characters from the base game, but the new character they introduced, I'm like, you're just nothing. You're trying to be something and it's just not working. They really dropped the ball with that one. That was a disappointing expansion for me.
Don't tell Sean Capri that. He'll be very upset.
I don't think he's played the expansion. I agree.
Really? He loved the base game so much.
Me too. My game of the year 2021. But
wow, very cool. Mark.
Yes. Man, there's so much good DLC. I'm gonna go with. You know what? First off, I have to argue against one of your specifications, saying that courses are not expansions. So Super Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I think the expansion pack, the booster pack, whatever you want to call it, based on your definition, I will give you that skins and that kind of stuff, Fortnite skins, whatever, Call of Duty stuff, that's all DLC. But this stuff expanded that game so much, made an old game feel new. They kept bringing new stuff to it, friggin' quadrupled or tripled or whatever the amount of courses and replayability in this game. Absolutely nailed it. I think that's just expansion done right for a racing game. I think it's just phenomenal. So that one, 100%. I loved Breath of the Wild Champions Ballot. Who would have thought a game that I put 200 hours into needed an expansion? But it, again, added more to the story of the game, gave me some stuff with the characters that I loved and wanted more of, and then did some funny, weird things like giving me a motorcycle to run through Hyrule with. Just thought it was a mix of worthwhile and goofy, stupid stuff that I enjoyed. I understand where you're going with expansions too, so I'm tempted to say Smash Brothers Ultimate, bringing every effing video game character ever into the game, but I think maybe hold off on that because you look like the vein in your forehead's gonna pop.
Listen, I thought about it, myself
all right.
there. I thought about it. The only reason I didn't is because I don't think Fighter Pass 2 is very good, and Steve ruined competitive. So, and I was a competitive player.
Okay,
I always say characters, levels, maps, tracks. To me, are an expansion. They're more content. They're not exactly changing the game. Kind of like Call of Duty gets map packs and things.
Steve changed the game, all right. Changed it for worse.
Yes. So I'm going to be the old pooper and say more content doesn't mean an expansion.
I will argue against the booster packs for Mario Kart, but I'll give you the Super Smash Brothers Ultimate if you will give me the Mario Kart 8 expansions.
I'm allowing neither. Hey,
Kevin, you wanna go do our own show and just leave this poo-poo head?
Now, Mark, if they gave us like a campaign mode for Smash Brothers, or they said Demolition Derby in Smash, I'm like, hell yeah! But more tracks from other games that they just remastered. Come on, man!
And new tracks. There were new tracks in the booster pack. Played them, Todd.
But they also didn't make a new game on the Switch. They just said, "Here's an old game, and here's an old game with with old stuff." Come on.
You're not specifying when the game had to come out for DLC to count as expansions. I don't know what that has to do with anything, man.
Mario Kart 8 going on 25 years.
That's, is what it is if they keep adding to it. Okay, can you give me Shovel Knight then? Because that'll be the last one that I
the stuff. Oh, yeah. Because they completely...
Plague of Shadows, Spectre of Torment, King of Cards, Showdown. Shovel Knight just went on for years. And that's not even counting like the game spinoff, like Shovel Knight Dig and all that kind of stuff. But like the Shovel Knight... I forget what they called the full pack, but like if you got Shovel Knight at the start, and you got all these games, just the way to do DLC, and it just is so good for hitting all those Kickstarter goals at the start. But like, holy crap, each one of them mixed something up, each one of them brought something new, but kind of kept the feel of the same universe, same game kind of thing. Just so good. I think I mentioned Octo Expansion earlier, so I'm not going to give that one a shout out. But like, I'll leave it at Shovel Knight. Holy crap, that one's good.
Yeah, I think they're finally going to make. Have you heard that they're going to finally make? They're going to make a new game to be like like in the mode of like Banjo-Kazooie or Mario 64.
I'm there for that one.
So long. Yeah,
I'm there for that one.
3 years.
And I was happy to hear
a couple of times. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no! I was going to say, and I'm very happy to hear that the ukulele team is getting a second chance at making ukulele better. Ukulele,
but it wasn't bad.
No, but
it just wasn't perfect.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing. They're remaking it, essentially calling it Replayly, and hopefully they knock it out of the park this time.
I was going to say we mentioned it a couple of times, and I don't think anyone's mentioned it. What was it? Dimension Shell Shock. Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. What was the DLC called there? Because it was
with Usagi Yojimbo.
And Karai. I want to say, was the other one? Great character. I love playing as her. Great DLC for a game that was just like, this game's awesome. It doesn't need. It does need to expand. Okay, cool.
Surprised you didn't have any Pokemon expansions, Mark.
I was tempted to be completely honest. And I just like, I really enjoyed the one for Sword and Shield, that brought the, fighting bear Pokemon into it. I thought that was a really cool expansion. And the new one, like I said, I'm just kind of finishing the 2 expansions and filling out my Pokedex. And I thought the storyline, completed that game in a very satisfying way and brought you to different regions and different schools and expanded your friends' stories and that kind of stuff as well. So I did think the Pokemon expansions were excellent, as shit on as Scarlet and Violet deservedly kind of are. I've put way too much time into that game, partially for myself, partially because I have a 4-year-old who absolutely loves it. But Yeah, I think if you're playing those games and you didn't play the DLC, you are missing out on a great chunk of story. The Ogre Pond story is especially really good. Great kind of background of that character and that Pokemon, and that was the first part of the expansion, the DLC. So, yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you mentioned it, absolutely, they count for sure. I like it.
Very, very cool. Well, I've got a couple. The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine expansion.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal. It's basically after all of the travails of the craziness that happened in the main game. Essentially, you've got Geralt kind of taking a side gig. And it was amazing because it was like set almost in a fairy tale world versus like dark fantasy. You felt like, oh, you could run into Hansel and Gretel here. You could run into the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I really liked the change in tone, and I liked the mission you're on. I really enjoyed that, especially after I ended on The Witcher, unfortunately, on a very sad note. I'm like, oh, I made the wrong choices in this game, and now I got to live with them. But it kind of was Geralt kind of regaining himself in a lot of ways. So I like that kind of story arc, and I loved how they continued that. The second expansion I have is for Infamous 2. They had a expansion called Festival of Blood. This is where Cole essentially became a vampire down in New Orleans. It was so cool. It was so weird. It turned into a horror film. I loved it. I'm like, wow, I wouldn't have never expected this game to do that. I enjoyed it quite a bit. We then saw Infamous Second Son got their, I think it was called Second Light. Last Light? Something like that. It also did. I enjoyed that as well. But I loved the fact that they just took something, upended it, and brought in vampires into the world of Infamous. I thought it was just a cool idea. Another one, Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath. So essentially, what it did was it basically decided to add in more story content, but also give you all the characters and all of those things that were in the deluxe version. So you got a really cool extra storyline plus all the stuff that you might have missed out on with all the different characters. So that was a blast. I love that Mortal Kombat always does that. Like after a while, it's like, yeah, you can get the cheaper version later on that's deluxe, that you can get Homelander in it and all these things. So I always do that. I always play the base game first and I wait until that stuff is cheaper later on. Kevin already brought up Mass Effect. Mass Effect had some amazing content, and I love that to pieces as well. And I want to get back to the Control and also the content from Alan Wake. So I'm excited. And the last one I played that I really enjoyed, it was very short, but it was really awesome, and that was Separate Ways, Resident Evil 4, Ada Wong.
Yeah.
That was not in every version of Resident Evil 4, and it was so awesome to see the game from Ada's perspective in that game. Really loved that to pieces, and I would love to see that in more games too.
Cool.
All right.
That's awesome. Great picks.
Yeah.
Here we go, gentlemen. So these are the games that should get expansions. Maybe that a little bit unloved. We haven't seen them for a long time. The game we thought we would get expansions and never happened. So, Kevin, what's on your wish list?
Oh, this is hard for me because I don't often. I'm usually satisfied when I finish a game. I'm not like, oh man, I wish there was more of this. If I'm thinking of games that have stuck with me that I would love to explore more, like this year that I've or was it this year? Okay, man, time is. I think it was this year. Banisher's Ghosts of New Eden. I don't know.
Great game.
Many people
I love that game.
One. I love this game as well. There are ties to Vampire, their previous RPG in it. I would love something that fleshes those out a little more. I think that would be a really cool expansion. Just pull at those threads and tie those worlds together a little more. Just because, man, people are sleeping on that game. It has such good stories, such good characters, and combat is pretty good. I really love that game.
Here. I love that game too. I could have played a lot more of that. There were so many cool investigations. I think the world of Banishers requires more content.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Any others?
Man, it's so hard. It's so hard. I think I had one more. Let me look at my achievement list here, because this is how I do games. All right, achievement lists. What's another one that could do with an expansion? Oh, Unicorn Overlord. I'll take more of that. That's in my runner for the game of the year. All right, listen. That game took me by surprise. I only played that game because I had some gift card money that was expiring, which I didn't know was a thing. Okay, like Xbox was like, hey, your Microsoft reward
Wow, they're
money
points. Yeah.
expires in a month. You got to spend this. And I was like, well, what games are coming? And I just got Unicorn Overlord, and I 100%ed that. I got all the achievements, 38 hours. That game is phenomenal, but I will take more battles. I will take more story content. Like, that's a phenomenal strategy RPG.
Good pick. Yeah, I heard it's amazing, and there's a lot there.
There's. It's already a beefy game, but if you want to expand, like, they just have such deep lore, even more than like what's presented in the main story. Like, their side content that they could go off into. So,
Excellent. All right, Mark, bring us home.
Oh man, I always thought Super Mario Party needed some new / old boards. I don't know if that really counts. I think that might be more DLC based on your qualifiers, but whatever. When they announced the new Super Mario Party,
There's only
game,
like 18 Mario Party games on the Switch already.
More, I know they don't need a new game; they need more boards. I guess that won't count though. So. Can I say maybe like Super Mario Wonder? Because that was a game that ended, and I was just still like, give me another land, give me another world, give me more something, or a Bowser's Fury style spin-off or something like that. Like I think that could be great. On the Xbox side of things, I know why they didn't, and I understand that. I think they're saving it all for a third game, but I would love to see a little bit more of a continuation or even expansion. Like you could even jump into another character or something like that. But Jedi Survivor, that was another game that ended, and I was just like, I want more of that. I want, you can play more, and there's other side quests and stuff, but I just kind of like, I think there could have been a little bit more done with that, or I'd love to see more, spend more time in that world. Would Sea of Thieves, like, can I say Goonies? Because I just keep wanting that to happen.
I think so.
Like I want that.
Yeah, those are expansions, like the Monkey Islands.
The Monkey Island Pirates, all great. Goonies next. Come on, just I keep saying that. Just it needs to happen. And I'll give two quick ones as a final. Like I kind of want this to happen. One for my son. Simply, we've done everything in this game, and I just want more. And it's great because it's like episodic, like the show Bluey. I think could use for like a DLC expansion. Fix some of the game. There's been times when I've just fallen straight through the house, and he's like, "Dad, where'd you go?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Oh.
So shit happens, but like figure that out, and then give me another story or two. I think that'd be great because we had fun with that game as a family. And Little Kitty Big City. I think Little Kitty Bigger City.
Love that game.
Could just be like, just do some more stuff, right? Do some more things. Play as the crow. I don't know. Like just, there's more. I think there's more to that one. So, I'll leave it at those.
I haven't played this game, but there should be a Daisy expansion for Princess Peach Showtime.
Oh no.
Yeah.
A Daisy?
I didn't know.
A Daisy, like Princess Daisy, not Daisy.
Oh, not Daisy the zombie. I'm like, that's a little bit different.
Todd.
No, Daisy the princess.
I was like, yo, that's a brave move. Mario's versus zombies? Who cares about rabbits? I want Mario versus zombies.
Princess Peach leaves the theater and gets swarmed by zombies.
Gets no-scoped from 50 miles away.
I love it. I love it.
Fantastic. Daisy expansion. I enjoyed the demo for that one. It's not a game that I've picked up yet, but it was, I could see that having an expansion with one of the different princesses, Daisy, Rosalina.
I'll take Rosalina too.
Yeah.
I just like every princess more than Peach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I just was thinking about that. Now I want a zombie Mario game. God. Oh, what am I gonna do? Oh well. Here we go. I will say the Hogwarts Legacy expansion there would be amazing. I don't know where we're gonna get the next game. The Quidditch stuff looks like trash that we're gonna get in that one. No. Yeah, that's a shame. I would. I like the DLC in the first Spider-Man game. We haven't gotten any DLC for Spider-Man. I really wish we would with Miles. I think would be amazing and bringing in some of those characters, but I don't know if that's going to happen. One of the honorable mentions was the God of War doing the Ragnarok. Extra content they did made it like a roguelite. That was really cool. Really liked that thing was called Valhalla. But yeah, but I want to say Halo Infinite.
Oh yes.
How have we not got no more campaign in Halo Infinite? It gets so frustrated. They put so much into the multiplayer that I know people love, but I really wanted more campaign. I thought they could have really done.
Why can I not play as the Arbiter?
Anything. They know they've got all the cool stuff you can do. We used to get 3 Halo games a year, or a console generation. Now we're getting 1 Halo a generation, which just seems wrong, especially with Gears doing. It was kind of cool. I always liked the Hell Divers? No, the Hive Busters. They had that expansion in Gears that was amazing. I'm like, why can't we do more of this? So I want more of that in Gears, because we're going to get the new Gears, but I want, which I thought the E-Day was going to be more of a side quill or something like that, but apparently it's going to be the main game. But maybe they can do some of these story beats in expansions. So Halo, Gears, give me more of that, so I don't have to wait 6 years between games, please, because we'd like to play more of these games we love. Mario Odyssey, I thought that was ripe for new lands and new enemies and new just fun times. They could try and explore different things. And they didn't, which makes me sad because I want more Mario, but maybe we're going to get one on the next Switch, but you never know. And I love Tekken, and I felt like Tekken lately has not been as wacky and weird as it used to be. I want the Tekken Sports expansion. It's volleyball. It's baseball. It is the goofy sports. It's skee ball. It's bowling. That's what I want, because they used to do that with all of the odd stuff. They used to do Tekken bowling, and I want that. Tekken Sports
Wild
Island.
There is some DLC coming for Switch Sports Resort, if that's
basketball. Yeah. I do have that, and I think basketball could be fun. Okay, gents, we have done our job. We have given all of the video game companies great ideas. We won't charge them for them, because our reward will be getting to play these things. So they can thank us later in the credits. So be on the lookout for all these ideas. So with that, we are done with the show. Thank you for joining us in this journey about all the world of gaming with an awesome guest. Kevin, thank you so much for being on, man.
No, thank you for having me. I had a blast debating what's an expansion, what's the DLC, I was gonna say this, but that Tekken thing sounded a lot like DLC to me. I don't know, like that.
Maybe there's a story why they've got to do it. There's got to be a storyline, and you're gonna get the Yakuza, and they're gonna find out that they made the sports complex, and underneath it, there's a demon underneath it. That's what makes an expansion. Yes.
Hayashi and Jin decide to settle their differences in ping pong instead of martial arts, but
as only a refined person could do in the Mortal movie Kung Fury. Was that the game? Was that was it Balls of Fury? Was it Balls of Fury?
Balls of Fury. Yeah,
with Kevin Walken, with Kevin or not Walken, Christopher Walken and Dan Fogelberg.
I'm awful with names. I'm awful with names.
Yes, I am too. But remember that movie where they played ping pong? Yes.
Yeah.
There was even a Wii game with it.
Thank you again for having me. I was happy to be here. I enjoyed the conversation. This was a blast. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Evan, tell people where they can find you on the interwebs.
Yeah, so I again run Save the Game Media. That is our podcast network. You can find us at youtube.com/Save the Game Media. If you liked what you heard, come check us out. I got a whole bunch of more podcasters helping me out over there. We got Project X Talk, an Xbox podcast. That's my show every week. We got No Limits, a PlayStation podcast. We got That Time We Were Reincarnated as an Anime podcast. That's one of our newer shows. Doing pretty well over there. So if you like anime, come check that out. We have Are We Caught Up Yet? That's a Marvel deep dive where we're catching up on the MCU. Man, we have so much. We got Patreon exclusive stuff over there. So again, youtube.com/Save the Game Media. All our shows are on all audio feeds. You can follow us at Save Game Media on Twitter because for some reason Save the Game Media is too long for Twitter. So, but yeah, come check us out over there.
If anyone is listening right now, you guys are so freaking close to 900 subscribers on YouTube.
We are.
Stop listening to this show. Go over to YouTube right now. Get them over 900 before the end of this week. So nice. Like that needs to happen immediately. Like we're 3 away right now. It's Monday night. Like just do it. Just get them over there. I want to see, I mean, hit 1,000 if you can, if there's that many people listening, but like, let's do that. Like they're 3, 4 away from 900. Like just head over there, Save the Game Media, follow them on YouTube and like get them a little bit closer.
Let's do it.
You got one more.
There we go.
Oh, thank you. We're also pretty close to hitting the requirements for like memberships and stuff. So if you want to watch some of that content after you subscribe.
There you go. Yeah. Excellent.
Great work, Kevin. It's hard to do one podcast, doing many and having lots of members on a team. Mm-hmm. We salute you.
Oh, well, thank you. You guys are doing great over here as well. So I will. I'll make sure to send some love back your way this week for sure.
Excellent. Appreciate it. If you ever anybody on your team that wants to be on a Star Wars, a Star Trek, or a general geek podcast, let them know. We'd love to have them.
Absolutely. I'll send the call out, the bat signal.
Beauty.
Gotta love it. All right, Mark, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and hanging out in our Discord as Canardian_Jedi.
Excellent. I'm at Toxtra and at Secret Friends Unite on Threads, at Toxtra, at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Check out all the stuff we have at secretfriendsunite.com. Check out our YouTube. And remember, folks, it's always better to game together.